News Radio 840 WHAS coming up on today's Louisville Real Estate Show. Do you have water coming up through the cracks in your basement? Well, you are not alone. Arthur made a major mistake when trying to get his roof fixed because of a leak. You do not want to do what Arthur did. And why you always need to use the dishwasher and not do the dishes by hand, we will explain. Hi, everybody. Bob Sokoler, owner of the Sokoler team at RE/MAX Properties East. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday. Hope it's a great start to your day, and we'll keep you entertained till the top of the hour. Keeping with us will be Cora Henderson, who is one of the head folks over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They do a great job of getting your loan closed, as well as a variety of other legal matters. You can reach Cora at 895-9900. Also with us till the top of the hour, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team, and they do a great job getting your home inspected, whether it's new construction or resale. And also, he owns Team Bug Out, so he's well-versed on getting rid of those pesky pests like bugs and, well, ants and anything else that crawls. Brad knows what to do. You can reach him for both of those at 844-411-TEAM. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to be able to help you. There's no home too big or too small. I work both in Louisville, surrounding counties, and southern Indiana. You can reach me directly on my cell phone, 376-5483. That's 376-LIVE. Or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, and hit submit. And also for a free analysis of what your home is worth, you can use our computer system, and that system is at wesellouisville.com. Click on the top of the page and fill out the information. All right, folks, here we go. We've got a bunch of questions that have come in via email, bob at wesellouisville.com. Let us start with Cora Henderson over at Pitt and Frank LLC. This is Arthur who wrote us. He has a roof leak, and in this email, all of us need to listen to what Arthur did. He admits what he did was wrong. He contacted his insurance company because of the roof leak. They cut him a check for $1,600 to get the repairs done. He called a roofer who he thought was reputable. They came out. They said they'd do the work. He gave him the check, all $1,600, and he hasn't heard from the roofer since. That was several months ago, and so this is a warning for everybody. Never give a contractor the check in advance of work being done. And he's asking, Cora, is there anything that he can do at this point?
Hey, Arthur, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Don't worry, you are not alone. And of course, everything we tell you, hindsight's 2020. But for all the other listeners out there, I think it's so important just to understand the contractors that you're working with, doing some initial due diligence, get some recommendations, look up the Better Business Bureau ratings, look at the Google reviews, especially if you're able to get a referral where someone has worked with them directly and has that good experience they can share with you, and that comes from somebody that you trust. I think that's all meaningful due diligence that's important to help you vet that contractor. But going back to what Bob said about paying all the money up front, that's highly unusual for a contractor. So that could be a red flag right there if anybody were to ask you for full payment up front. Typically, yes, there will be some form of deposit, and understandably so. So all good things to know in the future. Also, roofing especially, a lot of times the roofers will work directly with the insurance company. So that's another good way of knowing that communication and it's taking place, and just to give you some additional sense of security there. Now, as far as what you could do, the milk has already been spilt. So what can we do? You can absolutely contact an attorney to see if they can assist you with tracking this person down. Also, I think we see these types of coverages a lot on the news, right? Like with the different troubleshooter programs. So you may be able to contact the media to see, if there's some sort of investigatory process they could assist you with, so that you may not have to incur legal fees, but more importantly, just to warn and make sure you get the message out as to protecting as many people as you can. But anytime, you take to media or you write different reviews, just throwing this out there, we want to make sure that everything that we say, would certainly not be defamatory in any way. But if this is your true experience, again, if they've run off with your money and nowhere to be found, I think all of us have good hearts. We want to warn the people that we know. But bottom line is, I think definitely feel free to reach out to legal specialties that could handle that to see what, if anything, you can do. a lot of it does come down to tracking that person down. If they're in town, if they're still doing business, perhaps there is an opportunity to get your money back. And I certainly hope that you do just that, Arthur.
We all do. We all do, Arthur. Hopefully that will help you. We move on to Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection Service. And by the way, you can hear and see a rebroadcast of today's show by going to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's a direct feed to our YouTube channel. Again, LouisvilleAnswers.com. We have a lot of good information and other shows that reside there. Brad Lawler, Bobby sent us an email about her basement. The home is 10 years old, and all of a sudden, with the recent rains, well, we've had a lot of rains over the past number of weeks, she found water seeping up through the basement cracks. She's wondering why and how do you stop it? Bobby may not be alone on this one, I think.
Well, how do you stop it? It's going to be difficult to stop the water coming in from under the slab. The question is how's the water getting there? Unless you suddenly have a spring that has appeared underneath your house, which is a completely different engineering problem. A lot of the times the water is coming in from outside the home. So I was at a house earlier this week. They had done some landscaping. They put some landscape rock on the side of the house, and where they replaced all of the grass, that now became a channel, a funnel for all of the water that was coming in and hitting the back door of his lower level, the walkout basement. And so he had made the inadvertent change to the landscaping, making it easier to move around, not walking in the grass, but the water was now no longer soaking into the grass and was coming into the house. So check to see if you've got some areas of water that are coming in around your foundation. Make sure that the slope of the dirt is away from the house, not toward the house. And if you're doing mulching, I'm seeing this a lot right now. When people are putting mulch in, they're building it up in the front, and it's catching a lot of water behind the mulch. So you're getting water between the mulch, the front of the beds, and the house, and all of that water has nowhere to go except down. And if it's finding ways in around, the basement foundation, the structural walls, you can end up with water in your basement by just doing something as simple as not paying attention to how the water is sloped once the new mulch goes down. So those are a lot of things to kind of watch for. It's not common to see water bubbling up underneath a slab unless something does dramatically change, but it does occur. And usually I would start outside the walls.
I will add one thing to that, Brad, with your permission, and that is I would check your neighbors on either side. I was at a house this past week that we'll be listing in the next couple of weeks, and there was water penetrating all of a sudden from the seller's report to me. And we looked, and it's very possible that a neighbor had put in a downspout diverter, basically extended the water coming off of their roof, which was coming across the driveway and subsequently making its way into the basement.
Right, exactly. And those are the kind of changes you're looking for. Whether you've done them, whether your neighbor's done them, it's just how the water is, suddenly moving and changing the flow. That's where we end up with those kind of problems. So whether it's your property or coming from the neighbors because they've made a change to landscaping or drainage, then all of those could potentially put water in your basement.
And we should point out, if you're going to hire somebody to help you redirect the water or repair a roof, you want to do some research and look for reviews. The best thing to do is go to Google, or if you're doing real estate, something in the way of real estate, you can go to Zillow as well. And we've made this easy. If you're thinking about hiring a real estate company, I'd love to apply for the job. You can go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. That's a redirect that will take you to what our reviews are, and we're proud of our reviews. And I think you will see that we do a pretty good job. Let's go to Cora Henderson at Pitt and Frank LLC. Barry and his family, Cora, have been living in their rental home for the past 5 years. Now, Gary says in the email that he sent to me, his son is going to turn 18 in August, and the landlord wants to cancel the lease because he says another adult, according to the lease, will be living in the house. And he's restricted to 2 adults, apparently, both Barry and his wife. So Barry's asking, is this legal? Is there anything he can do to fight being evicted because of his son turning 18?
Well, I think there's a couple questions there. First and foremost, I think having that lease reviewed by an attorney would be in his best interest. Different leases could cover different topics, and as we all know, what is in writing is very important. So I think you've kind of got two separate issues here. One, is an extra adult allowed in the unit, and that may be against their policy. That may be clearly explained. But two, the second issue is in the event that is not allowed, I'm kind of questioning that default remedy of them being able to evict based on that. So I would want to look at the default provision to see, does he have an opportunity to cure that? Because I'm sure maybe if that's the case, he probably wants to continue him living there. Maybe the son gets a new apartment. I always like to encourage ways to amicably resolve the matter as opposed to getting adversarial. I always think, that's in everyone's best interest to not have to get yourself in that position. You don't want an eviction on your record. You don't want to have to sour relationships, but is there a way to work together? And sometimes there's not, but if there is a path of least resistance, certainly, doing things kindly and amicably is oftentimes better.
We have a newsletter, folks? Just out of curiosity, we do a bi-monthly newsletter, and this week's topic is creating a home buying wish list and how to do that. If you'd like to get some more information, you can go sign up for that newsletter at WeSupportLouisville.com. That's WeSupportLouisville.com. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more of your questions, and we're going to answer this question: why should you use a dishwasher and not wash dishes by hand, if that's at all possible? There's an interesting answer to that. Continuing with us after the break, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. They're a great group to help you get out of the terrible problems of bugs infestating your house, or if you need a home that's inspected, either it's new or new construction or resale. You can reach Brad for both of those at 844-411-TEAM. Also staying with us, Cora Henderson, Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They do a really great job of getting your loan closed, and you can pick the closing attorney that you want to close your loan. Great folks over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys, 895-9900. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. There's no home too big, no home too small. It's me. I went out this week, knocked on the door for someone who wanted to talk about selling their home, and she goes, "It's you?" I go, "Yeah, that's me. I come out. I do the job." So call me. You can reach me on my cell phone, 376-5483. That's 376-LIVE. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form. And for that free analysis of what your home is worth via computer, go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page. Back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you to the top of the hour on this Sunday. Thanks for sticking with us. And continuing with us, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. By the way, Brad's Home Team Inspection Service is the #1 home team inspection service now, 10 years in a row. Congrats, Brad. You can reach him and for Team Bug Out as well to get rid of pests in your house like ants and termites or whatever at 844-411-TEAM. And also staying with us, Cora Henderson, over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They do a fabulous job of getting your loan closed and other legal work. You can reach Cora at 895-9900. And if you're thinking of selling your home now in the future, whenever, I'd love to help you. No home too big, no home too small. Call me, free, no obligation analysis. I come out, we talk. I spend as much time as I possibly can answering all your questions. You can reach me on my cell phone, 376-5483. That's 376-LIVE. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com and click on the form there to fill out and hit submit. And then for that free analysis of what your home is worth, go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page. Quick quiz for Cora first. Do you do dishes by hand or do you load them into the dishwasher?
Dishwasher, absolutely, except for those very rare moments where I might get out something that I know is crystal or something that I would have to wash by hand. But all I know is you made my day telling me I have permission to put it in the dishwasher.
Yes,
I love it.
Yep. Brad Lawler, by hand?
My wife is 100% dishwasher. I admit I do a lot of hand washing.
Not good. And by the way,
I'm waiting for it, Bob. Drop the hammer on me.
Besides crystal, don't ever wash expensive cutlery like good knives in the dishwasher. All right, here we go. The dishwashers offer multiple advantages over hand washing in efficiency, cleanliness, and sustainability. So, for example, water usage. Modern dishwashers use between 3 and 5 gallons of water per load. Hand washing, Brad, up to 27 gallons per load. That's a big difference. Energy consumption. Dishwashers use less hot water and are more energy efficient. Energy Star models are even more efficient. They have superior cleaning power. They have a high temperature dishwashers use temps up to 160 degrees. That kills bacteria and it sanitizes the dishes. Also, the spray arms with specialized jets and detergent are optimized for getting into the cracks and crevices that maybe a dish towel is not able to do. Also, there's reduced waste. There's less water and energy per dish, decreased detergent use. Also, the efficient appliances use and reduce emissions on the long term. Am I getting through to you there, Brad? Oh boy, yes, I do believe.
Well, I still like my Scrub Daddy and my Dawn Platinum spray.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, Bob. You're making a good argument.
Hang on, let's go back to this. With dishwashers, you load it, you press a button, you walk away. Saves over 200 hours a year versus hand washing. Okay, you were just telling us you're busy. You're doing a lot of stuff. Okay.
You made your point. Okay. I
and then skin health, for example, no constant exposure to hot, soapy water. And modern dishwashers have gentle cycles for fragile items, but just not crystal or cutlery, expensive cutlery.
No silver plate.
So those are some of the things. By the way, there's other stuff about loading the dishwasher, how to do it. We've done it in the past, but you load it from the outside in, dishes pointing towards the middle. There are a variety of things. GE once called me a year or two ago and said, hey, next time you're going to do something on dishwashers, let us know. So I'll tell you what, if you're listening, anybody at GE, you want to call me, we'll put you on the show. Just give us a real good in-depth, something we don't know about dishwashers. We'd love to hear from you.
And Bob,
they're bringing that new product line here too.
Yeah, we'd love to see that.
All in one.
Oh, all the jobs for sure.
Right.
Well, I was going to say my girlfriend taught me something that I love, and that is always unload the dishwasher from the bottom up. And that makes perfect sense because I think sometimes you do reach for the top tray and work your way down. But the problem with that is, some things have extra moisture or extra water that's on there and then it spills and then you've just spent time cleaning everything and then they're wet again. So, working your way from the bottom to the top when you're unloading.
That's a good point. Very good. Let's move on. Brett Lawler, Home Team Inspection Service. Andy's new patio has either paint or stain drip marks. And in this email, Andy's asking if we know of a way to safely remove the spots. And by the way, another listener, I'll put these together, says they've got some paint on brick that was originally a nice brick color. Would pressure washing remove the paint? So there's two separate questions. What are your thoughts?
Well, okay, I think I'm going to answer these two separate ways because the spot remover, yes, there are commercial products. I mean, I know Gugon has one that is made specifically for latex paint remover, and it's going to be effective on those, those stone surfaces, those patio surfaces. It'll do a good job. So any of your big box hardware stores will have that in their paint section. As far as removing paint, now, if we're talking about painted brick, Bob, that is, I got to be honest, that becomes such a job that pressure washing probably is not going to remove everything. It'll remove the areas that are chipping, peeling, because those are areas where the bricks were either wet when it went on or water's gotten behind it. But paint itself adheres pretty strongly to brick. And I've seen people start those jobs and they just say, I can't do it. So I know people who have sandblasted brick to get rid of the paint. It's a tedious, expensive project. But I'd just be really careful about trying to strip the paint off. If painted brick, try to strip it off with a pressure washer because you're probably going to make more of a mess and you're going to end up having to go back and repaint all the surfaces anyway because the house is just too big and the paint's too hard to get off. If it's a small spot, I think you're fine to try to get it off. But whole house, converting back to conventional brick, I think that's a nearly impossible task.
All right. Good answer. Hopefully that helped. Let's move over to Cora Henderson over at Pitt and Frank LLC. Brandon sent us this email. He has property on the market in Oldham County. He was not happy with his real estate agent, asked to be let out of the contract. Agent sent him a text that he's letting him out of the contract and he is now free to list his house with another agent. Okay. Well, Brandon says, can he call another real estate agent now? Does he have to sign any paperwork in order to get his house back on the market? Cora?
Hey, Brandon. So I think best practice is I would get a release of that document that you signed. So in your instance, since you were listing your home, it should have been a listing contract. So in a perfect world, best practice is I would get a release of your listing contract. I understand that, that you received a text, and while that's fabulous evidence, and that's certainly better than not having the permission, I think it would be in your best interest just to make sure that not only the agent has released you and you have the proper document, but the broker as well. So, the broker owns that listing too. And so you just want to make sure that anybody that would have a claim to say that, you owe them money as a result of anything or whatever your listing contract said, you want to make sure you're released from those obligations and duties. So I would, sounds like since it's amicable, take the extra step in trying to get a formal release of that for your records.
That's a good point. A reminder for those of you thinking of selling and want to know what we do, because not only we have reviews online on Louisville Zillow and LouisvilleGoogle.com, you can also go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. Those are interviews that I do, exit interviews, when we're done with talking to some of the clients that we work with. So take a look over there, LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. Brett Lawler, Home Team Inspection Service. Mike has a problem with a raccoon. Now, we talked about this, and let me pause this for a second to just update you on something else that we talked about. Remember, we talked about those doors, those fly kind of doors that go in front of a sliding glass door, patio doors.
The phantom screen doors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned I was going to buy one and try it. Well, I bought one from Amazon. Actually, ended up buying 3. Well, I returned 2 of them. Make sure you measure, and because I measured, but I didn't add extra inch or 2 around the door to be able to put it against the Velcro that comes with it. So that's one part. But I bought this one that was about $60. It is fabulous. It works fabulous.
Right.
So if you want to send me an email, folks, and ask me what the brand was, I will tell you. I'm not endorsing this company, but I just think it worked real well. So that was the screen door update. So meanwhile, now we talked about raccoons a couple of weeks ago, and Mike heard the show, and he says a buyer agent was showing him, Mike, a home, saw a raccoon on the roof, and the buyer agent, called the listing agent, who said, yeah, we know about it, and they're not concerned about it. But Mike wonders, after hearing our show, shouldn't the listing agent have taken more action? Because repeat what you said, that they can actually go inside an attic through the roof.
Oh yeah, they'll dig through a roof. I mean, any way in. Yeah, they've been known to do that. So, but if they're getting up on the roof, then they've got an easy access, whether it's a tree that's overhanging it, whether there's something leaning up against it. So the first thing they got to do is take care of those problems to keep the animals out. It's called exclusion work. But I would never want to see a raccoon on anybody's roof, or squirrel for that matter. Squirrels will get in through the gutters and climb up underneath the sections of roof that are open around the gutters too. So yeah, no animals should be up on the roof, and we got to be taking care of those issues.
You don't want to make a raccoon your friend, Car, right? I mean, Brad will tell you.
No, it's hard for me to say. Now, my mom has friends, and we call it Nana Sanctuary in her backyard, and she's got many little wild ones that will come up, and she'll, leave food for them. But generally speaking, yes, I would agree with you. That's probably not a good practice. And definitely, I think you had said an agent was aware of it.
Yeah.
I would think from a marketability standpoint, I would get critter redders out there to relocate very safely for both the animal as well as the marketability of the home.
We want you to know we have a no obligation booklet that will help you if you're thinking of selling your home, with hundreds of tips. If you'd like it, it's free, no obligation. Send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com. Put selling tips in the subject line. I'll send it to you. And on the same thought, Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection, has a booklet that tells you about what to expect during a home inspection. That's free as well, no obligation. Send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com, with the word inspection in the subject line, and I'll send you a copy of what Brad and his home team group have put together. All right, time for one more question here. It goes to Cora Henderson. Frederica just sold her house this spring. So the agreement, she writes in this email, was that she would have the pool painted with an epoxy paint. So Frederica hired a painter. The pool was painted, and now the new owner is calling to tell Frederica that the paint is peeling. She says she called the painter, who says he's never heard of this happening before, but she's wondering, what should she do? Is she on the hook for this paint job that apparently has gone bad?
Well, Frederica, I think, a couple things here. One, it sounds like you did your due diligence and contractual obligation. Without reviewing your contract, I couldn't fully comment on that. But just generally speaking, I think that, if you've met whatever was required of you, in this instance, painting that pool, if there was nothing else that was required with any specificity in regards to that repainting, you've done it. And it sounds like, they were pleased with it at first. It was working, but then that repair, so to speak, has maybe failed with the peeling off of the paint. And I think, for any homeowner, any buyer, I think they did the right thing by calling the contractor first. The bad part is the contractor, of course, says this has never happened. So then, you could be kind of that collateral damage where maybe, right, wrong, or indifferent, depending on, what's in writing and the specific facts of the case, the buyer may choose to come after you and impose closing matter to, especially if that duty survived closing, saying that, this repair was not properly made. So, is that a possibility? Well, certainly. We live in a litigious society, and you would want to look to your contract. It's typically going to have alternative dispute resolution methods such as mediation and arbitration as that type of dispute resolution, as opposed to just going to court. But nonetheless, you may want to seek counsel, someone to review all those documents to better opine about your type of exposure.
All right. With that, we're out of time, folks. Our thanks to Cora Henderson, Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They do a really great job of getting the loan closed and other legal work. You can reach Cora at 895-9900. Also, thanks to Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection Service, and Team Bug Out if you need a home inspected, whether it's new or resale, or you need some sort of termite work or bug removal work. That's Brad. That's your guy. 844-411-TEAM. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future or buying a home, I'd love to help you. It's me. If it's selling, I come out free, no obligation. We'll talk about the process and where it needs to go to get you on the market and sold on your timetable. You give me a call, and there's no home too big and no home too small. You can reach me at the area code 502-376-5483. That's 376-LIVE. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, click submit. And for a free look at what your home may be worth, this is a computer that we have. You can go to WeSellLouisville.com, click on the top of the page, and fill out the information and hit submit. By the way, next week on our show, 8 garage door security secrets that thieves hope you never learn. That's on next week's show. Out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.